Thursday's proceedings at the TRRC. Imam, you have the floor, please. You can offer some prayers.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين وإن تستفتحوا فقد جاءكم الفتح نصر من الله وفتح قريب وبشر المؤمنين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل والله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر وسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Shukran, Imam C. Bishop, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Lord God of mercy, of grace, of compassion, of love, we continue to bring before you the whole wide world during this period of COVID-19 lockdown situation that has brought about a lot of disturbance. Work is not going on in most parts of the world, and also within our own border here in the Gambia. We continue to ask by your divine grace and mercy that you cut short this pandemic that is destroying and disturbing life throughout. And Lord, we bring our own sitting before you. And we continue to bring the witnesses that are presented here on a daily basis. We ask that by your grace, that you will grant these witnesses the courage to be able to speak out boldly the truth. And you also grant the commission the discerning spirit to be able to discern between truth and falsehood. And the populace, those that are following the TRRC, both here and abroad, that you grant them the patience and also grant them to be able to allow the rule of law to take its proper course so that everything will augur well for this land. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much indeed, Bishop Odeko. Council, are we ready with this morning some witness? If so, please proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, members of the audience. We are ready to proceed. Mr. Kambi, could you kindly bring in the witness? Thank you.
Thank you.
I Soriba Conde.
Man Soriba Conde.
Man mooy Soriba Conde.
I Soriba Conde.
Man mooy Soriba Conde.
I Soriba Conde.
Man Soriba Conde.
Do swear that.
maa ngi waat ne.
Dama waat.
I'll speak the truth.
dinaa wax dëgg.
Dama waat dëgg.
The whole truth.
dëgg bi yépp.
Dëgg bi yépp.
And nothing but the truth.
duma fi wax leneen lu dul dëgg.
Si gannaaw budul dëgg daal.
So help me God.
kon yàlla dimbale ma.
Ok yàlla dimbale ma.
Please, you may be seated. Mr. Chair, just a matter of housekeeping. Our witness today is of Guinean nationality. He speaks some Wolof and prefers to speak in that language. Even though he speaks Mandinka Mori, it is somewhat different from the Mandinka that is spoken in the Gambia. To the extent that he thinks that his testimony would be better understood if he spoke in Wolof. Because also we may not have speakers of Mandinka Mori to interpret to regular Mandinka in Gambia. So I hope that the interpreter from Wolof, from English to Wolof, would also appreciate that the witness does not speak deep Wolof. I think he speaks street Wolof, which is a mixture of English words and street lingo. So we just have to understand him that way. But we would give it our best to make sure that the Commission and the audience would understand his testimony very well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that information, Council. I think we have had magnificent interpreters. They would help us through the end with the witness as well. But thank you for that information. You may proceed, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Conde.
jërëjëf Mr. Conde.
Welcome to the TRRC.
ñu ngi laa dalal fii ci TRRC.
And thank you for your willingness to testify to assist the Commission.
jërëjëf tamit ci li nga nangu pour ñëw joxe fi sa seede pour jàppale commission bi.
As you may have learned by watching the TRRC,
xëj na jamono ji nga seetaan TRRC am na yoo ci jàngee.
That it is an offense to lie or to provide false testimony to the Commission.
ne soo fi waxee loo xam ne du dëgg fii ci commission bi bon yàq nga luwaa.
I am convinced that you would speak the whole truth.
yaakaar naa ne nag di nga fi wax lépp loo xam ne dëgg la.
For the purposes of your testimony today, we would deal with the following topics.
tey nag yi nga xam ne moom lañ fi fas yéene waxtaanee ci seede yi nga joxe nii la demee.
We would want you to talk about your background very briefly so that we know who you are.
dinañ bëgg rek nga wax ñu yow yaay kan ci tënk rek ndax ñu mun a xam yow kan la.
What you did in Gambia when you came to this country in 1997.
1997 bi nga ñëwee fii ci biir réewi Gambia bëgg nañoo xam lan nga fi doon def.
And we want to know about your life in the prison.
bëgg nañoo xamit naka nga nekkee woon ci kaso bi.
We would want to know your relationship and encounters with somebody called Esa Baji, alias Jesus.
bëgg nañoo xamit ban jokkoo nga am ak ku ñoo wax Esa Baji ñu gën koo xamee ci Jesus.
And your encounters with certain prisons officers, including Kemeseng.
ak it jokkale yi nga am ak say naataango yi nga xam ne ñoo nekkoon ci kaso bi bokk ci di ku ñoo wax Kemeseng.
We would also want you to talk about the problems in the prison system.
bëgg na ñun nga wax ñu jafe-jafe yi nga xam ne moo nekk ci biir kaso boobu.
From the stealing of donations.
lu aju nag ci sàcc boo xam ne ñu ngi ko sàcc ndimbal yi nga xam ne moo faa ñëw.
The stealing of prison rations.
ak sàcc bi nga xam ne ñu ngi ko sàcc dund yi ñëw foofu ci kaso bi.
The tortures in the prisons.
métital yi nga xam ne moom la ñoo def foofu ca kaso ba.
The deaths in the prison.
ak it ñi nga xam ne ñooy ñàkk seen bakkan foofu ci kaso bi.
The denial of medical attention.
ak it liñ leen di tere pour dimbale leen ci wàlli faj.
And other maltreatment of prisoners.
ak yeneen i métital yoo xam ne ñu ngi koo teg ñooñu nga xam ne ñoom lañ tëj ci kaso bi.
And your relationship with Baba Job when he was in the prison.
ak sa jokkoo ak ku ñoo wax Baba Diop jamono bi nga xamee ne yéen ñëpp a ngi ci kaso bi foofu.
Are you ready to testify?
pare nga pour joxe sa seede.
Yes.
If you don't understand a question, please ask us to clarify. Ask me to clarify, and I will clarify. Okay?
su ma la laajee dara te leerut la lool wax ma mal gën la koo leeralal.
What are your full names, please?
naka nga tudda?
On Samaturu, Soriba Conde.
My name is Soriba Conde.
Is it Conde or Conte?
Conde, Conde.
It is Conde. Conde.
Okay. All right. That's a good one. Conde is Soso.
No, Mandinka.
Is Mandinka Mori.
Yeah.
And Conte is
Susu.
Is Soso. Okay. Here I used to think that Conte is Mandinka. So that's a good one. Thank you very much, sir, for that. And you are Mandinka Mori. So where are you born?
Yow Mandinka Mori.
Where were you born?
Fan nga judo?
I was born in Conakry.
Which year?
Ban at?
1973.
1973.
You understand some English?
Yes, yes.
But wait for the interpretation.
Okay, okay.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you. And when did you come to Gambia?
Kañ nga ñëw fii ci réewi Gambia?
Since 1997.
I came here in 1997.
What do you do at the present moment?
Lan nga def ci jamono ji?
I'm going to drive alone.
Listen to the question. What do you do at the present moment?
Jamono jiñ tollu nii lan nga nekk di def?
At this present moment, I'm not doing anything. I am in prison.
In which prison?
Ci ban kaso nga nekk?
Mile 2 Central, Security Wing.
At the Mile 2 Central Prisons, at the Security Wing.
Mile 2, is that your first imprisonment or not?
Mile 2 mooy béréb bi nga xam ne fa lañ la njëkka tëj ci kaso bi wala?
I once went to prison in Guinea.
And for how long did you serve in Guinea?
Bañ la tëjee kaso boobu ca Guinée ban àpp nga fa tëdda?
1 year later.
I spent 1 year in prison in Guinea.
How did you leave that prison?
Naka nga génnee ci kaso booba nekk ca Guinée?
I left the prison in peace.
Did you leave officially or did you leave by other means?
Waxtu bi dafa jeex ñu bàyyi la wala dafa am yeneen anam yoo xam ne noonu nga fa bàyyee?
No, Bob, dama escape.
I escaped from the prison.
And what's the name of that prison?
Kaso boobu moom naka la tudda?
Bob Labe la woon.
Naka?
Labe.
That was the place called Labe.
And it's in a place called Kinjo, correct?
Mu ngi ci béréb boo xam ne ñu ngi ko wax Kinjo ndax?
Yep, si Labe la nekka.
It's all part of Labe.
And you did not escape alone, did you?
Ba nga rëcca nag yow kenn rëcculoo woon ndax?
No.
No.
Could you tell us a little bit about it? You escaped with how many people?
Ding ñu mun a wax naka la demee yow yaa ñaata nit rëcca foofu ca kaso ba?
No, Bob, dañ bari woon.
Well, we were many in number.
Did you play a leading role in causing that prison escape?
Rëcca boobu ngeen doon def yaa ñeneen ñooñu ndax yow yaa leen jiite woon?
Ama leen jiite woon.
Yes, I led the whole group.
And did you serve in any other prison apart from Labe and Gambia?
Am na beneen kaso boo xam ne mus nga faa tëdda lu uute ak Labe ak Gambia?
No.
No.
Were you in Samet in Senegal?
Well, Samet moom Muslim buñ ma doon deport Senegal Muslim ma téye.
Yes, I was once held in Senegal when they were deporting me from the country.
And And in Gambia, what were you sent to prison for?
Gambia fi lana tax ñu yóbbu la ci kaso bi.
Gambia fi sacha moo tax ñu yóbbu ma kaso.
They took me to prison for stealing.
Was it one instance of theft or several instances of theft?
benn yooni sàcc la woon wala ay yoon la woon.
nekkul benn yoon la.
It was many times, not only once.
Could you tell us which incidents there were?
Di ñu mun a wax sàcc yooyu ci yan anam la.
Accident boobu boutique lañ daaj.
There was one where it was broken an entry. We broke a shop's door and went in.
Only one shop or several?
Benn boutique la woon wala boutique yu bari?
Boobu du nekk benn boutique am nga rek. So bu ñu téye daal ne téye ñu affaire benn boutique.
We were not caught because of one shop. It was many shops.
Were you a sole operative, a lone wolf, or you were involved with other people?
Sàcc yooyu nga doon def yow kenn la woon wala yéen mbooloo la woon danga ko defoon ak ñeneen.
ñun mbooloo la.
We were a group.
Was it just one group or you belonged to several groups of thieves?
benn mbooloo la woon rek ndax ay mbooloo yi sàcckat ngeen woon.
mbooloo yooyu daal sàcc lañ yaa understand so dañ xamante.
It wasn't one group, it was several groups, and we all were acquainted to one another.
So you were thieves who would work together in several operations, correct?
Yes.
mel ni ay sàcckat ngeen yoo xam ne daal ci ay sàcc yu uute ngeen doon def.
Yes.
And which years did you operate as thieves in this country?
ci ban at ngeen doon nekk ay sàcckat fii ci biir réew mi.
2007 lañ start daal.
We started in 2007.
And when were you finally arrested?
ci kañ lañ la mujjee jàpp nag.
Could you repeat your answer?
2007 lañ ñu arrest.
You were arrested in 2007.
Do you recall how many operations you carried out before you were arrested?
ndax fàttaleku nga ñaata sàcc nga def balaa ñu laa jàpp.
boobu mun na dem ba ay barna de ay juróom boutique yooyu daal.
It was many. It might have been up to 5 shops.
So you would agree with me that in your earlier life, you were a criminal?
Yes.
kon di nga mun a nangu li ne daal yow ci sa dunda ca ndoorte ga teel ngaa door sàcca.
loolu dama ko nangu.
Yes, I agree to that.
And you led a prison break in Labe in Guinea. Was that the only prison break you had undertaken?
tey tamit jiite woon nga rëcc boo xam ne rëcc ngeen ko ci kaso bañ leen tëjoon Labe ndax benn yoon boobu rek nga jiite woon façon rëcc yooyu ci kaso yi.
loolu rek la daal.
That was the only instance I escaped from the prison.
But you also, on another occasion in Gambia, escaped from the prison authorities, did you not?
waaye amoon na itam jamono joo xam ne fii ci biir réewi Gambia rëccoon nga ci loxo ñi nga xam ne ñooy liggéey foofu ci kaso bi.
rëccoo ma si loo prison officer yi si loo police la rëcca.
I didn't escape from the prison officers. I escaped from the police.
And this was while you were a prisoner?
te loolu fekk na boobu ñu ngi la tëj ci kaso bi.
And how soon afterwards were you apprehended?
gannaaw loolu nag ci kañ lañ la jàppaat.
bés bu ñu daw the following day lañ ma téye.
We were apprehended the following day after our escape.
And where were you caught?
fañ lañ la jàppee.
mu ma téye Brikama.
I was caught in Brikama.
And why did you go to Brikama?
lu taxoon nga dem ba Brikama.
dama bëggoon génn si dëkk bi tam boobu.
I wanted to leave the country at that time.
Now, after your arrest and trial and conviction, how many years were you sentenced?
léegi gannaaw buñ la jàppee yóbbu la ci àttekaay bi ñaata at lañ la tëj ba yoon daan la ba ña dañ la war a tëj ñaata at lañ la tëj.
so jëf bu ma def 10 years lañ ma tëj si loolu.
I was convicted for 10 years.
And how about for the escape?
Escape 4 years lañ ma tëj si escape.
I was convicted for 4 years for the escape.
In essence, you were to serve cumulatively 14 years.
Bon dafa mel ni mboole seen yaa ngi war a tëdda ci kaso bi fukki at ak ñeent.
Yes.
Yes.
How long have you served so far?
ñaata at nga tëddaagum.
Dana 13 years.
I spent
more Sundays.
Naka 13 years ak
13 years 2 more Sundays.
13 years, 2 months, some days. That's what I have already spent out of my conviction.
So you would soon complete your term.
Well, 9 more Sundays.
Bon dafa mel ni li nga tëdda moom léegi mu jeex de.
Yes, 9 months, some days are the remainder.
So that would tell us that you know the prison system in Gambia quite well. Is that right?
Bon nag mun nañoo wax ne kaso bi ci Gambia fii yow xam nga ko bu baax.
Dara humpuma foofu.
Yes, there's nothing that I don't know about the system here.
You are quick to admit that you were a criminal. Yes. You also accept the crimes you have committed. Why do you so readily accept these things that you have done?
Yow teel nga nangu ne yow criminal nga te nangu ngay tamit tafaar yi nga xam ne yëpp moom nga def lan moo tax nga teel a nangu yooyu.
dama war a nangu waa doom julit soo def lu nga xam ne du yoon so pour nga wax dëgg nit yi xam moo gën a baax nga denca ko daal.
Well, I should accept, as a Muslim, whatever you do in your life, you should always try to be truthful about your deeds.
Do I take it that prison has had such a positive effect on you to the extent that you are easily amenable to accept what you have done in the past?
ndax mun naa wax nag ne bon kaso bi nga xam ne moom nga tëdda am na ay soppeeku yu bari yoo xam ne def na ko ci yow ba tax nga mun a teel a nangu jëf yi nga xam ne yaa ngi koo def.
Yes, loolu la.
Yes, that's it.
And with regards to things that are happening in the prisons, would you be available to talk about them openly and truthfully?
yi nga xam ne nag yooyu yëpp nga xam te mu ngee dox ci kaso bi ndax pare nga nag pour wax ko ñëpp yi dégg ko te nga wax ko jaarale ko ci dëgga.
loolu pare naa si.
Yes, I'm ready for that.
Tell us about the donations of the gifts of materials that would come to the prison, like blankets and things like that. What would normally happen to them?
wax ñu nag léegi ndimbal yi nga xam ne moo dee ñëw ci kaso bi yu demee ni ay mbàjja ak ay yeneeni jumtuwaay yoo xam ne dañ koo dimbalee kaso bi foofu ndax di ñu mun a wax loolu naka la demee.
soo dimbalee kaso bi lu ñuy dimbalee kaso bi yëpp daal président mun ta business ne mu ne jox nañ ko waaw mun ne donné mbàjja matériel yaa understand ba loolu sa ñoom ñooy jël luñ bugga.
The donations that come to the prison, most of the prisoners don't see it. Well, it was whatever they hand over to the officials there, they take whatever they want to take out of it, but mostly the prisoners don't get it.
Do I understand you to mean that the prison's officials would help themselves first before they give the leftover to the prisoners?
Bon suma la déggee daal dafa mel ni ñi nga xam ne ñooy liggéeykat yi liggéey foofu ci kaso bi ñoom ñoo cee njëkk a jëriñoo seen bopp ba pare bu desee ñu soog koo jox ñi ñu fa tëddal ci kaso bi.
man lu ma xam daal ñun dañuy gis ci TV bi ñu ne li jox nañ ko prison du ko gis prisoner duñ ko gis.
What I know is that we see these donations being given to the prison officers over the television, but the prisoners don't see anything about anything in those things.
Can you give us an example?
Ding ñu mëna jox misal.
Lol barna de.
That happened.
Bari ñu ngi ñëw kaso dañuy wax si TV ñu gis ko news ñu ne bi prisoner ñoo ko moom même prisoner duñ ko gis.
That happened for several occasions because we usually see these things on TV, donations being given to the prison, but the prisoners don't see anything.
In your mind, where do these materials go to?
Yow ci sa xalaat nak bagage yoy fan la dé dem?
Bagage yi kay ñom ñoo xam seen biir daal fal naka lañ koy defee daal.
Those things, it is the prison officers, they know what happens to those things.
Do they steal them?
Dañ ko dé sàcca.
Loolu moom luñ la joxee moom pour ku nga denca pour nga joxuloo ko loolu moom mu ngi noonu rek.
Well, if you are given something to pass it on to somebody who is under your custody, well, if you don't give it to that person, well, that's it.
It's not a very clear answer, but I take it to mean that you believe they steal these materials.
Tontu bi leeraluloo ko torop waaye ba tey mun naa jàpp ne yow li nga gëm daal mooy ne bagage yooyu dañ ko dee sàcca.
Waaw loolu moo fa nekk.
Yes, that's what it is.
Waa bagage bi ñun ñoo ko war a njëriñ.
Because we
suñ ko njëriñul loolu dafa mel ne dañ ko sàcca.
If these things are given for the benefit of the prisoners, but if it doesn't reach the prisoners, then that means the guys who were giving these things have stolen it.
How about the ration, the food that comes to the prison, especially the meat? Tell us about it.
Naka dundu yi nga xam ne mooy ñëw foofu ci kaso bi surtout yàpp bi wax ñu ci dara.
Ansul nu wala wa fende am nga kaso bi soo gis ñu lekk yàppa tabaski la wala weeru koor ida Christmas.
Well, I will not tell lies here. For the prisoners, if any time we see meat and eat meat, that is the Tobaski prayers or the Korita prayers or Christmas.
Tabaski comme Korite prayers bi.
Just
fi nu tuda sa kani fi mox ñom manser ñom dañuy dem togal prisoner yi bes bobu dinañ lekk lu ba.
Just like these Korite prayers, Kanifim Mosque will cook something very good for the prisoners, and they'll bring it, and we really eat something good that day.
Tabaski tam sujot.
Also, if
ñoy dem sponsor dañuy indi mais lu ñuy indi non sa bul fog de fu mu jaar gaay sacca ci dara de.
And also for the Tobaski, that's the same thing happens. They will cook something very good and bring it. But even that, don't think everything will reach the prisoners. They will steal part of it.
But government ensures that meat is brought to the prison at least once a week.
Waaye nag nguur gi ñoom dañ dee gis ne dinañ indi yàppa foofu ci kaso bi lum néew benn yoon ci bés bu ay bi.
Bés yàppa la te mais yàppa bi soo ko gis ñeneen yax la ñeneen siliti la doo ko mun a understand ban façon yàppa la.
That meat they are talking about, sometimes it is only intestines or veins or bones. It's something that people will not understand what kind of meat it is.
So what happens to the meat that the government sends to the prisons as part of the prison diet?
Won yàpp bi nga xam ne nag moom la nguur gi dee yónnee si foofu ci kaso bi pour ñi nga xam ne ñoo fa nekk ñu di ko lekk lana dee jot yàpp bi nuñ ko dee def.
fa la prisoner bu la wax ne dafa lekk yàppa ba suur non borom waxul dëgg.
If any prisoner tells you that he was able to eat meat to his satisfaction or to her satisfaction, the person is not telling the truth.
You see, we're not talking about satisfaction. The issue is whether they are served meat, and you can take a prisoner's plate and see that there is meat on the plate?
No. Mane te domoda la nye toga te. Domoda bisoda me nyar yapa, nyar dogit yapa ngai peka chikao.
Well, that's only when they say they are cooking domoda, that's groundnut stew. If you check properly, you will only find 2 pieces of meat inside the stew.
Nwa muna nyo fi togu wahlu ngamne dudega.
I will not come here and sit down here and tell lies.
Silo la deka.
That's what I live in.
So duma bay sama moro fofu mo ñew tok ci kanam aduna wara wax dega baña wax dega.
I will not leave my companions there and come and sit in front of the wall and refuse to talk the truth.
What happens to the meat that government normally sends to the prisons?
Yàpp bi nga xamne mom la nguur gi dee yónnee si foofu ci kaso bi naka lañ ko dee def?
Yàpp bi day dal dañ ko di sàcc rek.
Well, the meat is stolen.
Stolen by who?
Ñana ko dee sàcc?
Officer la de.
It is the officers.
Which officers?
Yan officer la?
Ñu in charge affaire yi. Légui la rek affaire yi sa dañ ko dañuy nogotu légui. Mais before time David nak bi su dee ñaar tanka yeb moko mo.
It is
pression day jël bossam ñeneen dañuy jël boss seen boss so yeen bu tuti lañ leen indi ay der do da mëna wanda san lool kenn du mëna ne lool yapala.
It is a little bit better now, but during David's time, even if a bull is slaughtered, the 2 legs belongs to David, and they partake the best part of the meat. The prisoners will enjoy only the intestines. This is what happens in the prison. This is what was happening in the prison.
Which David are you referring to?
Ban David nga wax noonu?
Director David Colley.
Director David Colley.
Have you ever seen this before?
Mus nga ko gis?
ñuy rey nag bi ñoo koy wax.
The people who slaughter the cows are the people who always talk about this, and they themselves.
Jamono boobu ñu ne ñaar nag la ñuy indi ñaar nag. Prisoner mom duñ gis ya fa dédé.
One time they said they brought 2 bulls or two cows, but the prisoners don't see anything.
Apart from, we've talked about donations sent to the prison, we've talked about the meat or the prison rations. Now let's talk about the food that is served in the prison. Tell us about the food.
Wax nañ fi mbiri ndimbal yi nga xamne moy ñew ci kasso bi wax nañ fi mbiri yàpp bi nga xamne mom lañ fay indi légui nak nañ wax ci mbiri lekka gi wax ñu naka la mel.
Lekka bi lu gëna change ci lekka bi xaap mburu lañ doon am.
What?
Jamono ya jame xaap mburu lañ doon am.
During Yaya Jammeh's time, we were served half a loaf of bread.
Xaap mburu bobu Sunday da ngay am xaap mburu.
And that one, on Sunday, you will be given half a loaf of bread.
Tuesday, I am half bread.
Tuesday, you will be given half bread. Half a loaf.
Half bread.
Wednesday, also half a loaf.
Thursday, you need pap.
And Thursday, they will bring pap.
Friday, you need half mburu.
And Friday, they will bring another half loaf.
Saturday, you need churai.
Saturday, they will bring porridge.
So nguur change.
When the government changed, and when this other director came,
mom defa try def mburu bi every day.
And he tried to make sure that the bread comes every day.
Saturday rek la ñuy toga churai.
Porridge is cooked only on Saturdays.
Des yep mburu ngay am.
But all the other days we are given bread.
That's for breakfast.
For breakfast.
Yes, that's
about
for
lunch.
So su fekkente ne daal dara change na mun naa ne loolu moom daal dëgga loolu change nañ ko.
If I can talk about any changes, this is the change that took place there.
Tooga bi.
And the cooking.
Reer bi baaxul.
It's not good.
Da nga xiib saa nga gis lekka bi.
You will be even hungry, but if you look at the food, sometimes you'll not be able to eat it.
We want to understand more the problems with the food. Why is it that the prisoners can't eat the food?
dañ bëgg xam mbiri lekka bi lan moo tax ñiñ tëj ci kaso bi duñ dee mun a lekka bi
lekka bi moo baawul
because the food is very poor.
lekka bi baawul
It's not good at all.
lekka bi dëgga doo mun a ne dooma every day li ngay joo doo am nga rek lu baaxul
Try to speak clearly. We don't know, that's why we are asking you.
Okay.
So explain things in detail so we understand.
xam nga ñun dañ xamut loolu moo tax ñu laa laaj dañ bëgg nga leeralal ñu lekka gi naka la dee mel su ko defee ñu mun a xam.
When they cook fish, you give us a description of the typical day, the type of fish they would cook, and how well is that received by the prisoners?
léegi dang ñoo wax ci bés bi nim dee demee bu fekkee ne togga nañ jën naka la dee mel ci ñi nga xam ne ñooy prisoners yi nekk foofu ci kaso bi.
So comme Monday.
Day like Monday.
Monday jën caalo la ñuy toog dañuy fry caalo ak diwtiir bi affaire bi doo ko mun a understand léeg-léeg sax dangaa jënd sauce bi caalo bi moom ñu koy lekk bariwul yaa ngi understand.
What happens on Mondays, they'll cook palm oil stew with bonga fish. But even that, sometimes what happens is the prisoners will just remove the sauce and the bonga, because the way it is cooked, the prisoners cannot eat it.
Can you tell us little more about the fish? Why is it that the prisoners can't eat it?
Mun nga ñu gëna leeralal mbiri jën mi lan moo tax jën bi prisoners yi duñ ko dee mun a lekka.
Jën bi luñ koy fry la yaa ngi understand luñ koy fry.
It is the way the fish is fried.
Luñ koy togga tamit yëpp yax la soo yow lu ndaw rek nga mun a jël foofu lu nga xam ne andula yax bi lu des bi ba doo ko mun a coop yax lay nekka.
Because whatever is left there is mere bones. What you can take out of it is just a little bit of meat, the meat, and whatever is remaining there is all bones. This is why you cannot eat bones.
What would prisoners normally do with the food when it is served and they don't like it?
Bu fekkee ne jox nañ leen lekka yi nag te buggu leen ko naka ngeen ko dee def.
Comme ñu gën a yàgga foofu dañuy try wut këriñ ligante soble yooyu jimbo yaa understand ñu ñëw tàngal maaro bi toogaat ko seen boppa ñu ko mun a lekka.
Those who spend long periods in the prison, what they do is they will try to get hold of some onions and jimbo. And what they do with the rest, that food is they will recook the food again, they themselves, and add these things like onions and jimbo and recook it until they are able to eat it.
Give us like an example, like your typical day in the prisons. Take, for instance, yesterday. Just tell us about your food for yesterday. So that we can have a sense of how prisoners would deal with their food on a daily basis.
wax ñu naka la lekka gi meloon ñu mun a xam biir bés bi naka la prisoners yi dee dundee ci seen wàlli lekka.
So lekka bi kansul lekka bi baaxul duma mun a fen ba man lekka bi demba sax dama ñëw tuuti la si lekka ma bàyyi ba guddi tibaat tam tuuti si suba si Yusuf Conte mu ne ma mu ne bro naka la mu ne no tuur ko nga raas bool bi.
Yes,
bool yi suba suñu mbalet bi dafa fees del.
A day like yesterday, the lunch, when it was brought, I was able to eat just a little bit of it. Then I placed it there. And at night also, I was able to eat just a little bit of it. So Yusuf Conte asked me this morning, bro, what about the food? I told him to go and throw it because it's not good.
But how does the food today, how does it compare now? How does it compare to the food before 2017?
Léegi lekka yi nga xam ne yéen a ngi koo lekka léegi naka nga ko mun a méngale ak yakka yi ngeen daan lekka bala 2017.
léegi before maaro bi du doon bari dañ lay defar maalo bu ndaw tuuti leen lay jox daal mais léegi moom So just ñom ñu ne dañ approve. Dañuy def bol bi malo bi dafa bari. Sauce bi dal du ba.
Well, the difference is before they will bring a very little bit of rice, which is not much. But the only difference is they bring what they bring now is more than what they used to give us before. But still, the sauce that is put on top of the rice is still bad.
Okay. Which situation is better?
ci ñaar yooyu ban moo gën balaa 2017 ak léegi ban moo ci gën ci li ngeen a lekka.
No, fu mu toll nii temps bi la tane.
Now, there has been some improvements now.
So then pre-2017, the quality was bad, correct?
Yes.
Bon balaa 2017 daan lekka gi baaxutoon.
And the quantity was also insufficient.
Tey du daan sakkan.
Du doon sakkan, no.
Yes, not much.
Xam nga loolu yëpp nekkul problème de council. Ba man mun naa
It's not all
la
the
jox
problem,
exemple.
but I can give you an example.
Bu ñu ma yóbbu Janjanbureh.
When I was taken to Janjanbureh,
Moo nekk Janjanbureh foofu.
when I was at Janjanbureh,
Kaso bu ndaw la mais ñoom lu ñuy tooga foofu moo gën maytu lu ñuy tooga.
it's a small prison in Janjanbureh, but the food they cook for prisoners in Janjanbureh is far more better than what they cook for the prisoners at Mile 2.
Yeah. Even Janjanbureh prisoner bread bu ñuy am moo ëpp bread bu.
And even in Janjanbureh too, the bread that is given to the prisoners is far more better than the bread they give to the prisoners at Mile 2.
Would you say that the food in Mile 2 up to 2017, would you say it was fit for human consumption?
Mun nga wax ne lekka bi nga xam ne ñu ngi ko doon joxe fii ci Mile 2 balaa 2017 ndax baaxoon na pour doom aadama war koo lekka.
Council am nga luy problème bi.
Council, you know what is the problem?
Since 2000, since ñeneen at yi.
Years before,
Who nekkoon chief cook?
who was the chief cook at the time,
The same man moo nekk chief cook ba tey.
is the same person who is the chief cook up to date.
So toogay daal mun loo ne am na lu tane am nga rek waa prisoner ñu fay liggéey lu ñu leen jox loolu la ñuy tooga.
Yes, so you cannot say that there is any improvement in the way that that person supervises the cooking. Whatever is given to the prisoners, the cook, those who are in the cookhouse, that's what they deal with, that's what they cook.
Well, I remember beneen time dañ jëloon female prisoner yi.
There was a time when they took female prisoners
ñu ñëw toogal.
so that they will come and cook.
Female prisoner bu ñu ñëw.
When the female prisoners came,
bu ñu doon tooga temps yooyu.
what they were cooking in those days,
Sauce bi dee baax.
the
Malo bi
sauce,
dee baax.
the sauce is good and the rice was also good.
And dañ dem ba gis ne ñii duñ mun a liggéey fii.
Then there came a time when they realized that these people, they cannot work here.
waa jigéen doo ko mun a jox lu nga xam ne motul nga ne toogal ma lii.
You cannot give something to a woman which is not enough, which is not adequate, and tell her to cook something that you want.
Why were the women cooks removed from the prison, from the kitchen?
Lan moo tax toogakat yu jigéen yooyu ñu génne leen ci waañ bi.
After dañ ne waa ñoom loolu seeful prisoner góor yi mun nañ reeb jigéen yi yaa understand am nga ñoom lu ñuy xalaat.
No,
lu fa nekk du benn.
the excuse they gave was that the male prisoners can rape the female prisoners who became cooks at the cookhouse there. So, but what they say and what is happening or what they think are quite different things.
Tell us about some of the diets that are served in the prison, like the chere and the pap.
Léegi wax ñu lekka yu demee ni cere bi ak ruy bi nga xam ne ñu ngi ko doon joxe foofu ci kaso bi naka lañ mel.
Cere bi baaxul.
Couscous is not good.
Cere bi fu mu koy tooga suñ pare yëpp suuf la ba pare du ñor.
The couscous they prepare for us, the first thing is it will not be properly cooked, not adequately cooked, and what happens is you will find a lot of sand inside the couscous.
How do the prisoners deal with it when they are served with that food.
Legi prisoner yi nak ñom naka lañ dé def buñ leen joxé façon yi lekk bobu.
Am nga lolu ñun dañ ko yaga fight. So ko fight next minute nga gis sa bopa du nekk jàmm ci yow.
Well, it has been quite a long time. We have been protesting against that. But if you become somebody vocal in the protest against that kind of food, what happens to you in later is always very unpleasant.
We would come to all those things. But tell us how the prisoners would deal with the chere once they serve with it. What do they do to make the chere edible for them?
Wa dinañ ñëw ci loolu ci kanam waaye dañ bëgg xam rek prisoner yi bu fekkee ne jox nañ leen cere bi nga wax nii naka lañ dee def cere bi naka lañ ko dee toppatoo yi xëj na ba ñoom ñu mun koo lekka.
Soo gis mënuñ ko lekka daal dafa baaxul rek waa cere bi daal baaxul kansul cere bi nu muy ñëw ñun fele noonu lañ koy tuuree.
Well, most of the time, the way they brought it, that's how we will throw it away, because it is not good at all.
We have had evidence from witnesses who say that when the chere is served, they would ask you whether you take it wet or dry.
Yes, no, I'm not wet or either dry. So ñene so xam na am nga meew mun nga request ñu indi la dry suñ ko indi da ngay raas da ngay jël ndox nga raas ko ba mu set so amee ndox bu tàng nga def foofu nga def meew nga lekk ko.
Yes. What is a little bit better is sometimes when they bring that couscous, some people will take water and try to wash the couscous to remove some of the things inside the couscous itself. And you can request for milk after washing the couscous. When you get the milk, then you will put it on top of it, or you put some warm water on top of it and put milk, and then you eat it.
Where would you normally get the milk from?
Fan ngeen de amee meew bi?
Meew moom soo binda précaution yónni ko sa mbokk yi mun nañ la jëndal meew sukur tea ida coffee indil la loolu.
Sometimes what happens is you will have to request these things from your relatives, like milk, sugar, and some other condiments. When you request these things from your relatives, then they will bring it to you inside the prisons. This is how you will be able to get these things and use them in the prisons.
Is it a matter of course that when you request for these things and your family is able to provide them, you will get them?
Ndax loolu boo leen ko laajtee ci seen mbokk yi pour ñu indi leen ko da ngeen ko dee jot.
Waaw boobu dañ ko di jot ba boobu ki commissioner Buba moo dugaloon loolu ba dafa gis ne prisoner yi duñ di am ndox bu tànga affaire yooyu daal dafa gën a indi biri ak feebar yu sew yi.
Yes, it was Commissioner Buba who introduced that into the prisons. But later on, they saw that it's not properly done, and the way they prepare this food, that's what causes the main sickness in the hospital, which is beriberi.
I think we have lost something in translation. You said this was introduced by Commissioner Buba, correct?
Ngane Commissioner Buba mo fa indi lolu.
Yeah.
And why did he do that?
Lana tax mu def ko?
Am nga tambo bu feebar moo bari woon ba pare dafa defoon mais nekkul ne yëpp a ko doon am.
At that time, there was a lot of disease or sickness inside the prison, and it is not everybody who will be able to get these things.
Am boobu comme life prisoner ñuy tëdd dead ak ñu nga xam ne dañ feebar dafa mun a dimbali gars yi mu duga ba pour mu duga loolu problème la yaa ngi understand mais moom moo fay loolu ba gars yi daal après dañ bàyyi affaire yi.
Well, he did it to help the prisoners who feel sick or seriously sick inside the prison, just to be able to help them. In fact, it took some time before they were able to introduce that system inside the prison, but later on they agreed to allow these things to come into the prison.
In a sense, you're telling us that this was a privilege that was not extended to all the prisoners.
No.
Bon dang ñu bëgg wax ne lii daal ndimbal la woon boo xam ne nekkutoon prisonniers yépp ko doon mun a am.
Loolu privilege la Ba serfla député directeur defata mona prisoner warta leka sukar.
Yes, it is a privilege. And in fact, there was a time when the Deputy Director General stood and said the prisoners shouldn't eat sugar.
What was his basis for saying that? Do you know?
Mona prisoner warta enjoying.
He said the prisoners should not have anything to enjoy.
What is the mindset in Mile 2 prison? Is it that once you are a prisoner, you lose every other privilege in life?
Yeah.
Is that the understanding?
Naka lañ dé gisé prisoner yi nek fofu ndax ñom liñ japp rek moy né comme ka dal tej nañ la fofu ci kasso bi dal warulo banexo dara.
Prisoner dal fonkuñ ko respect ñu ko.
Well, the prison
sol jom parek. Yow zero nga légui.
Well, if you wear the prison jumper, they look at you as a zero person. The prisoners are not respected. They are not accorded any respect in the prison.
You told us that a lot of the food is thrown away by the prisoners. Is that right?
Wax nga ñu né lekk yu ci bari dal prisoner yi dañ ko dé sanni.
Wa deug la council.
That's true, council.
Té ñu tok gaay ñu ngi tok ñu ngi sétan.
They are sitting there listening and looking at me.
Thursday bini sa domoda bi.
And this Thursday, the groundnut stew.
Ndangan deng am brombami.
Well, there are people.
Sen leka fofu lañ koy jëlé.
What? Yes. Well, there are people, pig owners. People who are having pigs with them there. And sometimes that's where they bring these things from.
No, he said in Ndangan. They keep pigs, all right, and they get their food from the prison.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
How do they access it? How did they get it?
Naka lañ ko dé joté wa Ndangan yoy naka lañu joté ci lekk
yi. Lol prisoner officer ñoo koy jënd, ya understand.
Well, it is the officers.
Bi dañ koy tour ba so démé ci mbalat bi yépp lekk la, ya understand. Dañuy tour lekk bi.
Well, the prisoners go and throw away their food, and that's where these people collect these things.
So démé confirmer dañ am fofu bargo yu nga xamné fofu lañuy tour.
When you go to the confinement place, there are barrels where they throw this food.
Suba dafa am benn boy fofu ñom Bakar Kañ ñom Scorpion ñom ñoy jël affaire yi di ko defar joko officer ñu yob ko ñeneen dañ koy dem tour ci mbalet bi.
People like Bakari Kañ and Scorpions are the boys who will come and collect these things and prepare it and give it to the officers.
We have heard a lot about this term, berry. Could you tell us about it?
Dégg nañ nak lu bari ci mbiri li ñoo wax berry ndax di ñu ci mëna wax dara.
Berry kay mom lekka bi la ak ñu tej la benn place dem lo fen.
Berry is caused by the food and putting somebody at one place, not going anywhere.
Wa jamono bu mo lay wax ni jamono bobu.
The times I'm talking about.
Pap
the pap. How they cook it before lunch. They will cook the pap before. When they are ready, they will then cook the lunch. In the morning when we wake up, they will take. After cooking that pap, they will not cover it completely. They will cover it partially.
So, sufanan non suba. Gurisa you bari munne unkai. You say we luneka munna fa amgarek.
And that's how they'll spend the night. And it is possible that geckos and other small insects might go inside.
Musi mom sen kawari lol mom amgarek.
The cats, the hairs from the cats, all those things can go inside that food.
So sunye suba. Bob la ñuy jël def ko benn kalira bi ñu def ko ñaar.
That's what they do when they wake up in the morning. They will take one cooking pot full and divide it and make it 2 cooking pots.
Léegi dañ am foofu benn banta bu nga xam ne comme sooy dawal gaal.
They have one stick there which looks like an oar. And there were many of those sticks there. That's the stick they take and put it inside the pipe to shake it. They look like oars for small boats.
Paddles.
Paddles, okay. The paddles for small boats. And they put water, they add water into the pipe. And take those paddle-like sticks and shake it up with, and
steer it.
And steer the pipe with it until it is all completely wet.
Until it lightens.
Until it lightens, okay. And where they make it, flies are ever present there. You will see a lot of flies in there. And after they bring you your pipe, sometimes you have to...
Wing. What kind of wing
you have
are
to
you
remove the
talking
flies.
about? Is it flies or...
Flies.
Flies. Okay.
Flies, yes.
Proceed, please.
So, lol la jël lélé conformément ça lélé bor 9 jamono bobu ba ñu ngi police gaay fofu affaire yi mu ngi metti lélé bor 9 len suñ ko indi sa da nga gis affaire yi mu ngi bax bopam mu ngi bax.
Well, this is the type of food they give the people, especially those in confinement, around 9 o'clock. And sometimes when they bring it, you will see the thing itself looking like something that is boiling by itself. Somebody who doesn't want to commit suicide, he will not eat anything like that. But there are people who cannot just bear, they have to eat it. Some of them will even consume a full bowl of it, and later on they will come and get this very, very sick disease.
And what are the symptoms of beriberi?
Lan moy mandarga beriberi?
Beriberi sulatié. Ankay dañuy neew.
Those suffering from beriberi have swollen legs.
Kanam day neew.
Their faces are swollen.
Ben si tankay lay start.
But it starts with the legs.
Su start tankay muy ek.
When it starts,
suñ jëlu step ba mu aga fi rek xamal ne you are finished.
It starts with the legs and climbs up. When it reaches the middle part of your body, if nothing is done and they don't take steps to help you, then the person is finished.
So, but as it starts creeping up, would it be visible to anyone who sees that person that this individual is suffering from beriberi?
Bu fekkee ne commencé na néewi bi commencé na balaa moo éeg ci kaw ndax ku gis borom rek dina mun a xam ne kii day beriberi moo ko dal.
Ayo soo gis nit kii nii rek mu ngi leer kanam bi mu ngi leer nga xool tànkam ah boo yow naka la soo ko ne naka la rek da nga def ni tànkam rek soo def ni da nga gis ne tànka bi dafa nekk si biir du éeg.
Well, what happens? The symptom is
yow biribiri moo la téye.
The person's body starts to shine. The body looks shiny, the skin looks shiny. And the swellings, if you put your finger on top of the person's skin and push it, your finger will go deep inside. And if you look at it before that thing comes up again, it will take some time. So that's the time, we say to each other, boy, you have beriberi?
Well, if it is that easy to diagnose a person with beriberi, why would people die of the disease? Because it's like it's easily detectable from the onset.
Bu fekkee ne mandarga yooyu dinay teel a feeñ te ku gis borom rek dina xam ne beriberi la am bon lan moo tax beriberi day rol nit ki su fekkee ne dinga ko teel a xàmmee ci moom.
Ansul ñuy pour jël nit yóbbu la hospital jël la yóbbu la hospital loolu mooy problème bi.
The problem is to take prisoners and take them to hospital is always a problem for them.
They also complain.
If you complain,
suñ la yóbbu clinique painkiller lañ lay jox.
If you go to the clinic or they take you to the clinic, their clinic there, they will just give you painkillers.
You see? Lastly,
Lastly, they were very annoyed with me for that because there was somebody who was having stomach problems.
Oku, endoing ko flagging.
They didn't bring flagging for him.
Alam penkila, kunga amna bir mungi daw. Penkila nakala muna stop lo.
Somebody with a rolling stomach, how can painkillers help that person?
And what eventually happened to the person? What eventually happened to the person? Was he ultimately treated?
Lan mo mujé dal koku?
Nga ñun tam ñun suñ bir prisoner yi.
We prisoners there, some of us keep medications with us there.
Bari dañuy am quality garab.
Some of us have quality medicines in there.
Soji samoron dal mun lo understand. Mun nga ko jox garab mu jël.
If you see another inmate who is suffering and you want to help him, you can give that person that quality medicine to help him.
So from what you've just said, it looks like you're saying that most of those who died from beriberi, it's because of the refusal of the authorities to allow them to go to hospital at the right moment.
yow ni ma gisee sa wax daal mooy soo gisee ñu ci bari dee ngir feebari beri boobu noonu dafa fekk ne kilifa ya nga xam ne ñoo fa nekk di fa liggéey duñ leen de nangoo yóbbu pour ñu faju ji ci waxtu duñ leen a teel a yóbbu.
Yes, that's what's existing there. That's what exists there, council. Mike.
Let's talk about those who have died in the prisons.
Léegi nañ wax ñi nga xam ne ñoo ñàkk seen bakkan fekk ñu ngi foofu ci kaso bi.
In circumstances which suggest that this death could have been avoided.
Anam yoo xam ne daal mun nañoo wax ne am na nuñ doon defee duñ doon mun a dee suñ leen teeloon a jàppale duñ dee ndax mun nga ñoo wax loolu.
dee yu bari si kaso bi suñ teel a jàppale borom wax dëgg yàlla waxuma de du dee yàlla moo yor bakken doomu aadama mais soo ko yóbbu fu mu war a dem ñu ceeg ko ñu dimbale ko suy dee na dee si loxo ñoom foofu.
Many deaths occur in the prison, but according to how I see it, really it is Allah who is responsible for people's lives. But if action is taken earlier on to help these people, some situations would have been saved. But well, this is what happens in the prison.
Danga gis prisoner mu ngi feebar nga waa officer yi mu ne no dafa sampa. Dafa sampa.
Sampa what?
Okay, you will see an inmate who is sick in the prison. You tell an officer that this person is sick. What he will reply you is that the inmate is telling lies or is pretending.
So, you know, Bron de Pasampa. I remember Ben Boy, sir, from Mbemba Gasama, but in family like he. Officer in charge be Buba Padera, si Bopamsa, Munahe, Kida Pasampa.
Well, I can remember Mbemba Kasama's case.
What will 1 hour new the boy be there?
We after this was reported to people like Mudjai and others, they all died like that. And when the case was reported to Fadera, he said the inmate was telling lies. So this is how they died.
So Mbemba Gasama, what happened to him? Let's take them one by one. Mbemba Gasama.
Nañ ko jël benn Mbemba Gasama mi nga wax ni la na ko jot.
He was in the yard and he was complaining about his stomach.
So you dem wa officer in charge. Officer in charge, we
went and reported the case to the officer in charge. The officer in charge said the inmate was telling lies.
And how long after that did he die?
Because lolu dalé ban dir la tok bala mo gañu.
Jelul 1 hour sir.
It didn't take 1 hour.
They
said Mbemba's death happened quickly. Quickly.
And time bilani.
And it was around a time like this.
And tell us about Modou Njai.
Tell us about
wax ñu mbiri Modou Njai.
Modou Njai tamam nga koku tammi dafa don fatal.
Modnjai, what happened to him was breathing problems.
Mama guy then yaga, mom they them dinyo.
Modnjai has been there for quite a long time. He goes and comes, he goes and comes.
So asaman patient la.
He was an asthma patient.
So benna de dafa dan guy ñu ne ki
one day he fell down, and what the officer said, he's telling lies, he's pretending. That's how that man also died.
So, in a sense, you're telling us that the authorities are often negligent about complaints made by inmates, especially complaints about medical conditions.
Bon dang ñu bëgg wax ne daal kilifa yi nekk foofu ci ñiy liggéey foofu ci kaso bi dañ dee sàggane tawat yi nga xam ne prisonniers yi ñu ngi koo tawat surtout seen wàllu wérgu yaram.
Kansul ñi wérgu yaram bi daal nga dee daal -1 moo gën.
Kansul, what is there is to die there is better for them, -1.
What do you mean by that, -1? Explain that concept.
-1, so I'm a 500. -1,
it simply means the numbers decreasing. If you have 500 inmates and one dies, it is -1.
Tell us, make us understand the philosophy, the mentality, the mindset of the prison officers with regards to deaths in the prisons, deaths and escape. Tell us about their mindset.
Léegi wax ñu ñi nga xam ne ñooy liggéey foofu ci kaso bi seen gis-gis seen xalaat ci yi nga xam ne mooy ñi fay dee ak ñi nga xam ne ñoo fa rëcca.
ñoom nga dee si kaso bi moo gën nga escape si kaso bi waa ñoom ñu ne.
As for them, you die in this prison is better for them to escape.
Seen doom dee si kër gi moo leen gënal prisoner daw si jail.
Even to have their kids die in their compounds is better for them than a prisoner to escape from the prison.
And escapes means that much to them?
Bon rëcca bi noonu la leen tollu.
So their mom, lol ke mom, ñu ngi kontaan. I understand.
When an inmate dies, they are happy about that.
Yes. Nit dafa dee fi kenn du looy xalaat.
Somebody dies and nothing is done about it. What do they think?
xam ne nii sax comme ñun yàgg naa comme moom ñu feel ko mais feel boobu tamit sax benn dee bi la.
Just like
toog ngeen xalaat xam nga rek.
Like somebody who has been there for a long time and they are acquainted, maybe for people like that, they will think about them, but just it's a little bit. But as for them, they don't take it as anything. Death is just death to them.
How did you arrive at this conclusion, that for them, it is better that their children or a child of theirs would die at home than for a prisoner to escape? How did you arrive at this conclusion that this is the way this is their position, this is their mantra, that a death in the prison is better than an escape? How did you arrive at this conclusion that this is the mindset of the prison authorities?
Yow lu tax nga jël xalaat boobu ne ñi nga xam ne ñooy kilifa yi liggéey foofu ci kaso bi ñoom daal seen doomi boppa dee sax moo leen gënal ñiñ tëj ci kaso bi rëcca lu tax nga ñëw ci xalaat boobu naka nga ko xalaatee.
ñoom ñoo koy wax.
This is something they themselves used to say.
You mean you're telling us that the prison officers themselves would tell you that I would rather my child die at home than a prisoner to escape?
Yes.
Da nga bëgg wax ne ñi liggéey foofu ci kaso bi yaa dégg ñoom ci seen boppa ñu toog di wax ne ñoom seen doom dee sax moo leen gënal kuñ tëj ci kaso bi rëcca. Da nga ko déggee ci seen gémmiñ ñoom ñu ko wax di ko puugaroo.
Yes, that's it.
Interesting. Now let's move on and talk about tortures in the prison.
léegi nag ñu taxu ci beneen fànn mooy ñi nga xam ne dañ leen dee métital foofu ci kaso.
Perhaps before then, I just want us to explore some examples, some more examples of deaths in the prisons and maltreatment of people in the prisons. Tell us about this teacher, Ibrahim Asanya.
Bala ñoo ñëw foofu sax ñu delluwaat tuuti ñëw eggali ci ñi nga xam ne dañ leen deen mitital foofu wax ñu lu aju ci teacher bi ñoo wax Ibrahima Sanyang.
So Ibrahima Sanyang teacher dafa amoon problème ñu indi ko foofu mais ñun ñëpp am nañ teacher du nit ku wér ba poste kaso am sax dafa musa rendi benn boy foofu diko boy boobu waa Bisaw la.
Well, Ibrahim Sanyang, we all know that he's somebody who is not well. Even his first time to come to the prison, he killed somebody there. He nearly decapitated somebody there.
He slaughtered
somebody there.
Or he cut somebody's throat. We don't know whether the person died
or not. Yes. The person didn't die eventually.
He just slit the person's throat.
So then ko jene fofu ñu ko confirmer mu discharge bu mu discharge mu dem.
They took him to the confinement and later discharged.
So dafa dem am benen case murder ñu indi ko.
He went and got another murder case and they brought him back.
Mais mom nit la nek officer soko def dara sula munta def dara sa even prison nekul officer rek de even prisoner sa soko def dara sula munta def dara fofu xamal ne jeexul si xolam de am na ne bés boobu moom ak officer boobu jaabi the femme do not consent digante.
That man is somebody whom you know, whether a prison officer or an inmate. If you do anything to him, even if he cannot take his revenge on you there, he will always keep it in mind.
So, officer Bobu then changes. Mom officer in charge.
And there was one time an officer who was in charge and they came for changes.
The officer in charge Bob Monica Siganao.
And the officer in charge was the man behind.
Sila Jene Siganawam.
And that's
Mungi Amriza mu Ganko si badbi.
And this Sanyang was having a razor blade. And as far as the man was behind, he just came from behind and took the razor blade and slashed this man's throat.
So
when he did that,
ñun prisoner dañu génné mom jabi pousse teacher sila sen SOE sila ñu
and we prisoners came, helped the teacher, helped the officer Jabi, and the others caught the teacher. They beat him, and they took him out.
So when
they beat him,
after silenko handcuff,
that was afterwards they handcuffed him, both legs and hands, and he was brought into the cell.
Non la nekk si sel bi den ko di may mu dem sangu mais suy sangu officer moo koy escort.
That's how he stayed in the cell for some time, and even if he is going to take bath, an officer will escort him.
Mu tour kembo pot bi sangu
and
mu ñëw officer bi dugal ko tëj ko.
He will go and empty the kembo pot, take bath, and he will come back again and will be incarcerated.
You would agree that Ibrahim was a violent prisoner?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, when ko def lolu non la neka mais always dal dafa ama gaay problème. So non la neka ak ankof bi. Bu ñu mujjé jëne ankof bi titi si len ko yobu ñu dem dog ankof bi ba ciabi bi mënu ko ubbi.
Well, the handcuffs stayed on his hands for some time, until the day when they were about to remove the handcuff. They took him to TTC for them to remove the handcuff because the keys were unable to open the handcuffs.
Why were the keys unable to open the handcuff?
Lana tahon be chabi munto na ubbi chene bo def ci loxo mi.
Handcuff bi dafa maget ndox bu koy laal always dafa dem be yahu.
The cuffs were so old, and whenever he touches water, the water will spill on these handcuffs, and up to a time that the handcuffs were old and they were unable to open it.
For how long were the cuffs in his on his hands?
ceene boobu ñu def ci loxoom bi ñaata àppa la fa defoon yàgg na fa.
tànkaak loxo boobu moom war na dem ba su agul 2 years de daal.
It might have been up to 2 years. Both legs and hands were cuffed.
For 2 years they were there.
Listen
to the question. You mean that this person's been in handcuffs, in chains, restrained for 2 complete years?
Danga buga wax ne dañ ko ceene diiri ñaari at ceene boobu mu ngi ci loxoom ya tànkaami.
boobu du moom kenn sax am na ñu nga xam ne foofu ñoom soldat lañ ñoom dañ leen ceen 2 years.
It is not only for that Ibrahima Sanyang. There are some soldiers who are inside the prison. In fact, it takes sometimes more than 2 years. They were chained.
2017 we leen jëne handcuffs si gars yi.
It was in 2017 that their handcuffs were removed.
bu ñu déggaane Yaya Jammeh mu ne nangul jóg ñu ñëw ñu ne dinañ defaat handcuffs si gars yi gars yi ñu ne loolu mënut a dem.
When they heard that Yaya Jammeh refused to step down, they came back and wanted to put back these cuffs on these people, and they refused.
This is what the law says about restraints. I think I should read it out to the Commission. It says in Section 40 of the Act, whenever the officer in charge considers it necessary for the safe custody of any prisoner that he should be confined in irons. The operative word is safe custody. Whenever the officer in charge considers it necessary for the safe custody of any prisoner that he should be confined in irons, he may so confine him in such manner as may be approved by the commissioner. The irons shall be removed from the prisoner as soon as circumstances permit. The operative phrase here is for the safe custody of any prisoner. It appears, and tell me whether I am wrong, that those inmates who've been kept in irons or in chains for years were not put in chains for their own protection.
Bon dafa melni ñooñu nga xamne dañ leen ceene ay at ñu ngi leen def ceene yooyu noonu defuñ leen ko rek de pour ñoom seen kaaraange boppa.
ñoom du loolu de duñ def loolu de ñoom dañ leen def loolu pour am nga ñoom dina la wax neneen loolu bente loolu moo nekk di daw yaa understand.
That's not the case for them. These people were just in chains for something else, but not for their own security. And this is what's still going on there.
Yow so amee problème Yaya Jammeh ñu indi la mile 2 doo am jàmm de.
If you have a problem with Yaya Jammeh and they happen to bring you to mile 2, you will never have peace there.
Tell us what would typically happen to such people.
Wax ñu nak ñooñu naka lañ leen luñ leen dee def ba duñ am jàmm.
duñ mun a am jàmm de ba yow doo mun a am jàmm yow daal neneen de nga nekk seen mbokka waaw loolu moom mun nga am jàmm.
Maybe
loolu moom no.
If you are related to them, maybe they will be able to leave you, or you will have some peace with them. But you are not a relative to them, and you happen to come on the orders of Yaya Jammeh, you will have no peace in the prison.
Tell us about Mamadi Mane.
Wax ñu mbiri ku ñoo wax Mamadi Mane.
Mamadi Mane dañ ko indoon awma Brikama Ba lañ ko jël ñu ne teacher la woon.
Mamadi Bane was brought from Brikama Ba, and they said he was a teacher.
So buñ ko indi foofu dafa am problème daal boppa bi korewul.
When he was brought there, it looks like at that time he was having a mental problem. And he was a very fit man, a very, very strong person. And the officers, some of them were afraid of him.
So non la neka always mom leka rek sujena ndeset lekay defa dajale di ko leka.
And he likes to eat a lot. Even the other remnants, he will pack them together and eat.
So non la neka mungi chop yoy, mungi leka yoy.
And that's why he was like that in the prison, eating a lot of things, remnants from other people, and that's how he developed this beriberi.
Bumu beriberi, benade denwa officer, ba mamadi mom dua, mom always mungi nopi.
When he developed this beriberi, they told the officers, because he's somebody who will not talk, he's always quiet.
Denwa officer nyuna ki beriberi la am trial ngen yob ko clinic.
We told the officers that this man is suffering from beriberi, try and take him to the clinic.
Was it obvious to anyone who looked at him that he was suffering from beriberi?
If you look at him at that stage, the legs and the face were all swollen.
Did they take him to hospital?
No, officer
No.
Officer Jallo benna boy mungon fofu Jallo moko escort.
When we told the officers, initially they refused, but there was one officer called Jallo. Jallo escorted him.
Jallo bum ko escort besi yon bi.
When Jallo escorted him until on the road,
nga ko am biribiri du muna dox long distance.
People suffering from beriberi cannot walk long distances.
Is that also known to the officers?
Ndax lolu tam officer yi xamone nañ ko.
War nañ ko xam de.
They should know.
So mama di dañ dem bes yoon bi mama di mu buga tok.
Jallo went with Mamadi up to the road and Mamadi wanted to sit down.
So mama di bu mu buga tok.
When he wanted to sit down,
gaay dañ fogg ne dara la buga force suuf pour mu jam len.
They thought that he wanted to pick something from the ground and throw it at them.
Non len ko profito dor ko.
And
mujewuñ ko yob clinic sa non len ko delo.
And that's the time they fell on him and beat him mercilessly and brought him back into the prison. They didn't even continue with him to the clinic, to the hospital.
And what happened to him?
Dafa ñëw si bés boobu bu mu ñëw bés boobu ñu dugal ko si cell bi tëj ko foofu.
When he came back on that day, they put him inside the cell and locked him up there.
So si biir bu mu ko dugal si ngoon si dafa yu kenn nalawul foofu tambom number 5 la nekk second moom mu ngi second room man maa ngi last room.
He was in the second room and I was in the last room, but he kept on shouting. That day nobody slept there. He went on shouting.
So dafa yu be bor set.
He kept on shouting till daybreak.
Amul officer buy ñëw lawyer amul ku dedet ñun prisoner rek ñoy sonno ba ñun kenn du mëna nelaw.
Not even one single officer came to inquire about his case. It was the inmate who went on suffering inside the cell there.
Non la nekk when you taking over, after taking over, why sila stop you be?
And that's how he came
what
to
is taking over?
Shouting there until.
Sunyo Conde dal.
Sunyo?
Ñu wara wacca ñu wara ñu.
Okay.
When they were exchanging duties.
So after lolu waji dafa nopi.
After that
yurnu sibir neeg waji ñu xamne ki mom ki dena.
It was.
Officer ñu ne ki bay ngon ko ci sel bi be dena de I understand.
It was after the exchange of duties that the guys who came on duty went to his cell. They looked at him. The way they saw him, that's the time they went back and reported that they thought that the man is already dead inside the cell.
In a sense, apart from the beating that he suffered from the prison officers, he also died as a result of their negligence.
Lu ute sax ak dóor yu métti yi nga xam ne officer yi dóor nañ ko bon dafa mel ni seen càggante moo tax ba mu dee.
Yes. Yes, that's what
we
it
would
is.
we would take our break now, and when we come back, you will tell us about Alfuseni Bah from Sarengai and also Malang Sonko.
dañoo demagum break waaye bu ñu ñëwatee dañ ñu wax mbiri Alfousseyni Bah jógee Sarangay ak Malang Sonko.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Council, and thank you, Mr. Conde. We will take a 30-minute break and then come back at 12 noon. Thank you. Please adjourn.